Some houses whisper, others scream. In the quiet town of Union, Missouri, a man named Steven LaChance thought he found a fresh start for his family. But what he discovered inside those walls would haunt him for the rest of his life. This is the true story of the Union Screaming House. It was 2001. Steven LaChance was a single father looking for a home where he and his 3 children could begin again. He stumbled across a charming old house on a peaceful street. It was bigger than he expected, almost too perfect for the price. The landlord was eager to rent it out. Maybe a little too eager. Steven moved in with his kids, full of hope. But almost immediately, something felt wrong. The house wasn't just making noise. It was changing the people inside. Steven's children began having terrible nightmares. His young daughter started drawing dark, disturbing pictures. The family dog, usually fearless, refused to enter certain rooms. Then Steven saw it. A tall, dark shadow, thicker than the night itself, standing at the end of the hallway. It didn't move like a person. It pulsed, like it was alive. Objects began to fly across the room on their own. A crucifix that Steven had hung on the wall was found bent and broken. Steven himself would sometimes wake up to find deep scratches across his back, with no memory of how they got there. One night, as the family tried to sleep, the walls began to shake violently, and from behind them came the screaming, louder, closer, as if whatever it was trying to get through. The first few nights were uneventful, but soon, Steven noticed the little things. Doors that he had closed would stand wide open in the morning. Lights flickered without reason. Cold spots would freeze parts of the house, even in the heat of summer. Then came the noises. Not the creaks of an old house settling. No, these were the sounds of footsteps pacing at night. Whispers coming from empty rooms. And worst of all, the screaming. Blood-curdling, tortured screaming coming from somewhere deep within the house. Steven thought maybe it was a neighbor or his imagination, but the screams kept coming, and they were getting louder. It wasn't just fear anymore. It was survival. One evening, Steven's daughter began to scream for help from her bedroom. When he burst in, he found her pinned to the bed by something invisible. She struggled and sobbed as Steven tried desperately to pull her free. When he finally did, they didn't hesitate. Steven grabbed his children, ran out the front door, and never looked back. They left everything behind. Their furniture, their photos, their memories. Because no possession was worth the cost of staying another night in that house. But even after they escaped, the terror followed them. Nightmares, panic attacks, that feeling of always being watched. Steven later learned he wasn't the first to flee that house in terror. Other tenants reported the same experiences, doors slamming, phantom screams, dark figures lurking in the corners. Driven by a need for answers, Steven returned to the house years later for a paranormal investigation. What he found only deepened the mystery. The house seemed almost aware. It taunted investigators. It played tricks on their minds. It drove some of them to the brink of madness. Steven would later say that the house wasn't just haunted. It was infested with something ancient, something evil, something that fed on fear. Steven LaChance went on to write about his experiences, warning others about places where darkness thrives. He called the house a living entity, something beyond a simple haunting. His final warning to anyone who might go looking for it? Some doors, he said, are meant to stay closed. And some screams are never meant to be heard.